Missouri Politics Midweek Update. I'm Scott Faughn, the host of This Week in Missouri Politics. Kind of a big announcement. We're going to take a little Q&A, so shoot me. I always just give you my numbers, 573-429-5770. That's going to come to this right here. You can direct messages. Kelton can keep an eye on the chat over there. I will do Q&A for about a half hour. We're going to, and I'll tell you about big announcement coming about 11:20. Then next week, look for us out on the trail somewhere near you on the F-150 campaign tour. We are going to make a big swing around this state of Missouri. Kelton's going to be fun. You're not going to go with us, are you?
Unless you make me.
I love that's an honest answer. I will take your questions. Let's start off the top. Big night for Eric Schmitt. If you look up here, you can see the kind of the bottom. The shot's framed a little different every time. That's his state senate signs. So it to me it had to be cool for if you're Aaron McMullen and you're watching this and you're running to be in the chamber of a guy that just gave a primetime speech at the Republican National Convention. Regardless of your feelings about Schmitt or your politics, it's a cool thing. I remember I saw Governor Holden on C-SPAN once when I was in college give a speech at the Democrat National Convention. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought last night was awesome. I believe Eric Schmitt could be president of the United States. I've said that since he was in the state Senate. I am the least surprised Missourian by his success. Eric's a good person. People like him. And he has a way of having the right enemies, like people that are just surly and always whining and complaining. They generally are nipping at his heels, and Eric Schmitt has a way of emanating like a good guy presence, and it's nice to see a good guy do well. So my thoughts last night, the speech, honestly, it was fine, right? I don't think, in 4 minutes, I don't think they gave him the time to give some great, I have a dream 7 years ago speech. I think I don't even really watch conventions, if you want the truth, but I did watch last night as a Missourian. I was very proud. I felt like it was, I'd read a thing in the Wall Street Journal, or no, maybe it was quoting the Washington Post. It was one of the reporters. I apologize for not sourcing it, but it was a credible source saying that there was a lot of talk that he could be the next Attorney General of the United States if Trump wins. If I'm him, that's a tough call because I think he's on the path to a very successful Senate career. But how do you pass up being the United States Attorney General? That's amazing. I thought his speech kind of dovetailed with that. If you want the truth, if you were angling to be Attorney General, that's probably the speech you would have gave. Apologize, folks. I've had a little surgery on Monday. I'm still a little ginger in the seat. If you could tell my voice is a little bit slowed, that's probably what it is. It's not, there's nothing more than Diet Coke in the Stein of Knowledge this week. Actually, I pulled a special RNC Stein of Knowledge. This is from Toot Toot, famous restaurant and lounge in Bethany, Missouri, where I actually met Maisie Boyd, who I thought that was cool to ask her to be the person that read out the, Missouri cast its votes for Donald Trump. I thought that was cool. I'm always hesitant to see how old a woman is. I know Maisie is young for a state legislator, and young is a floating term the older you get, but she's young by any standard. I thought that was a cool honor. I mean, if I'm her, that's something I'd remember the rest of my life. And so I got my Bethany, Missouri Toot Toot Lounge. We'll call it the Yeti of knowledge. Question here about the governor's race. I'll give you my take. You'll be able to read the tip sheet later this week. It might even be this weekend. I'm a little down this week. It's going to show Mike Kehoe, the race lean Kehoe. To be honest with you, this race leaned Ashcroft for a long time. I always kept it a toss up because I didn't know how he would take to live action rounds. And thus far, I don't think the Ashcroft, if I'm the Ashcroft campaign, I'm not out of this race. Let's just start by breaking them down. They have to hope that when Eigel and Kehoe are shooting at each other, they go back to the familiar name they know. Jay Ashcroft's not out of this race. If I had to guess, though, there's probably more concern than high fives at Ashcroft headquarters right now, just at the trajectory of the race. If you're Bill Eigel, frankly, the only way you were going to win is some slingshot at the end, propelling you over Ashcroft first, then Kehoe. I think the Igo people feel they're ahead of Ashcroft. The interesting part of that is you have Ashcroft running ads saying Mike Kehoe is a bad guy or for whatever. But Igo is not spending his money to do that. Remember, I've told you for these three-way races, it's always the Spider-Man gimmick. Kelton, do we have the Spider-Man gimmick we could put up?
I have the one with all the governors' faces too.
That's the one we need. And I'll break this down for you real quick. So in the Spider-Man, where the three Spider-Men are all pointing at each other, this is a three. Go ahead, put up. This is a three-way race in the state of Missouri, right? Right now, Bill Igo is winning the Spider-Man game. And the reason I say that is he has Ashcroft using his money to hit Kehoe. Kehoe's using his money to hit Ashcroft. And Igel's been able to sit back and be cool and like use his money to promote himself. And that's what he had to have. I mean, the truth is, if you're the Ashcroft kid, you can take that off now, Kelton. That is a terrific shout out to Jared, I think, that made that. He make that?
Jared did make that, yeah.
Great job. The truth is, right now you have Kehoe. Kehoe is probably got to shift to attacking Igel. And the interesting part, the Ashcroft campaign, it's a very interesting time in their race. They could probably go get points back from Igel if they hit him. Keep in mind, while Bill has some momentum, he also really hasn't had a lot of hits. Kehoe hasn't had a lot of hits, but he does have the Ashcroft ad out hitting him. And you have to keep in mind, there's a difference between putting an ad up on their social media feeds that really only the choir is going to see and actually putting major points behind it in a media market. So right now, Igel's he's got his two opponents attacking each other. He can spend all his money promoting him. If you're Ashcroft, you probably could go get some of Igel's folks back easier than you could bring in Kehoe folks, but that's maybe not getting you where you want to be. So you're attacking Kehoe. I think Ashcroft's become a very interesting person in this race. He always has been. I kind of should have probably put it lean Ashcroft before. I just always thought maybe this scenario could unfold. Here's the bottom line. Mike Kehoe, if you're Igel, this is exactly what you want to happen. You want Ashcroft fighting Kehoe. You want Kehoe in the lead, and you want to be able to try to stalk him and get your momentum. This is if the game plan in Jim Lemke's office was laid out, it would look something like what's happening right now. Now, that's not to say he's going to win. I'll tell you why I think the race does lean Kehoe. If you're Ashcroft, you've got some tough choices to make. It would be an interesting time to be in Elijah and Jason's conference calls or however they do it, Zoom meetings. I think that's it. They have an interesting. I don't know where they go to get more money except that law firm out of Texas. I think you're seeing some the trial attorney money you might have wanted is going to Igel. So it's going to be interesting to me to see what Ashcroft does. He's the most interesting person for the next week. Then you've got Igel, who I really believe, is probably this is the scenario Bill wanted. Now, if you're Mike Kehoe, you might have wanted you to break through a week. Maybe peaking too soon would be the only argument. This is pretty much how if you're Barkley and Andy and Derek, this is how you'd have drawn it up. By the way, a guy named Derek Coates he is not getting the praise and attention, but that's kind of proof he's doing a good job. You watch the person's going to come out of this race as a superstar. Superstar is Derek Coates. He is running an outstanding race for Kehoe. The logistics. Look at that report. That report, Kelton. Mike Kehoe's second quarter report is like the Mona Lisa of reports. The number of $2,800 checks, and again, why this matters is currently in Kansas City, it costs about 4 times the PAC, what it does from your candidate committee, your official Mike Kehoe from Missouri committee. So if you raise these max checks of $2,800, you can buy television at such a cheaper rate all over the state. Kansas City, it's acutely important right now. But that report, $800,000 of hard dollar candidate money, it's like the Mona Lisa, and that doesn't happen. I'm telling you, without a candidate killing himself, without other, frankly, it's not, you can't even do that with a candidate killing himself. What you got to have is a candidate that's convinced about 30 other people to go kill themselves. And it's got to be run by a campaign manager. So I'm going to tell you right now, I know Sophie's been in the news a lot. Of course, Elijah gets a lot of attention for everything he does, being he's very well known. But I'm going to tell you, the person's going to come out of this race, we're going to lose as a stud, as a rock star. It's Derek Coates. toot toot, yet they have knowledge. Toast to Derek. So I think Kehoe has the ability to come in and buy enough. I think he has the ability to attack both. But I do think he's have to turn his. I thought the engineering thing, whatever, right? It's all right. Jay Ashcroft doesn't respond to hits well. I don't think he responds to them personally well or politically well, and I don't think he responded to that one very well. I don't think it's that big of a deal, frankly. But they were able to get a lot of traction. You saw a lot of people very willing to come out hard on Ashcroft. Thought it was interesting to watch that be done. And not just the fact that he got hit, it's just the veracity of some of the hits were interesting to me from sources. I'm like, it's odd that they would care that much. They could probably show some good work on the Kehoe team getting that out there. I can tell you right now, the folks on the Kehoe team are all in on the Kehoe team. They are living and dying with us, as the Eagle team. It's just the Kehoe team's bigger. I think fair to say. The Ashcroft team, I'm sure, is the same way. It's just if you're the Kehoe team, you feel good. You're really, Kelton, I've always said this is Wednesday, right?
Correct.
Sorry, as I said, I'm a little out of it. I'm getting a text. No, you should have, Todd, you should have watched the first part of the show. And I had a little surgery this week. I'm still a little down. Oh, great. And then getting a little text coming in here. Secretary of State, James from Christian County. I appreciate it. I'll get to that in 1 second. If I'm Kehoe, I buy up all the spots. I probably start attacking Eagle and try to just muddy when you're in the front, muddy the water. I do think this. I think that the minute the president was shot at Saturday, this race froze. I think nobody's going to think about much until we get through his speech Thursday night. Kelton, I don't watch speeches, but I'm going to watch Trump's speech Thursday night. Are you?
Oh, I'm going to watch it.
I mean, I didn't watch his, I like Trump is more interesting than everybody else put together, right? He says crazy stuff, right? But I think the race froze from the time that bullet was fired Saturday until Thursday night. And I think that freeze helps two people. I think it helps the people with the least amount of money. That's probably a little bit Igo, but it really helps Kehoe. If you're winning and you're freezing that race, it's a good thing. I got a quote from someone that says, "Stop rambling, say Kehoe's going to kick ass." Look, I'm telling you, I think that's where this is heading. But if you count out Bill Eigel, you're making a mistake. I'm telling you, Bill Eigel, before he announced, if he had a timeline of this race, it would look a lot like the one we're living in. Now, can he get the money to close? Can he overcome Kehoe's money advantage? I'm pessimistic that he can, Frank. That's why I think the race leans Kehoe. But if you're counting out Bill Eigel, you're making a mistake. James, let me just tell you, the Secretary of State's race, who the hell knows, right? I mean, you have so many people running. Again, I think the race was kind of froze, which helps. I mean, none of them had enough money. You couldn't convince me of an accurate poll in the Secretary of State's race today. None of them have done any media. I mean, I'd say if you had to guess right or die, Kelton, in life, I go with the person with the most money. Am I wrong? Maybe this is the Republican.
That's a pretty good rule to go by.
Maybe that's just a good Republican tenet during the Republican National Convention is if you have the most money, you're going to do well. Is that fair?
That's totally fair.
So, people chiming in now about the shout-outs to Derek Coates. The dude is going to come out of this race. I mean, he already was well-regarded in political circles in the Republican Party. He's going to come out of this race a superstar. You watch just the logistics he's had to coordinate for a candidate so damn busy. Geez, I was a terrible campaign person, Kelton. And the reason I know how hard he's having to work is I would screw all this up. Kehoe would be somewhere out in Wichita right now if I was in charge. I'd have it so messed up. On his way to Little Rock probably for an event. The Secretary of State, man, I think Plocker, right? I can make you a case that Plocker should win because he's got the most money. He's got a good crew of state reps out helping him put signs up. I've seen more Plocker signs than anybody else. I can make you a case for Mary Lou. She's the most damn talented person in that race. She's got some money. She's got a plan. She could probably go in the last 2 weeks and get the most money because if she loses, she'll be back as a state senator. So folks probably just send her a check and hope she loses so she'll owe them a favor next session. Denny Hoskins has his crew. The better Eigel does. The better Eigel does, the better Denny does. And there's also some folks that believe if Eigel's governor, Denny will be in his cabinet. So you probably should stroke a check to Denny because even if Denny's not the Secretary of State, which nobody actually gives a damn about, he could be a very influential member of Eigel's administration, which I think people do give a damn about. Looking around there, right? Jamie Corley's done some stuff. Hey, that's interesting, man. She's got I don't think she has a lane in anything but an 8-way shootout, and her doppelganger is the other side is Valentina Gomez. I don't think Valentina Gomez could win a 2 or 3-way race, but in this 8-way thing, maybe Shane. I've always said there's a floor of support Shane's going to have. If Kelton, I'll make you a starting knowledge prediction. If 18% wins this race, Shane Schuler will win it. That's my opinion. I think it's going to be a little higher than that, but if it gets down that low, and Jamie Corley, I don't know that she's got 25% in her, but she might have 20. That might win it. Schwadron, has taken a bizarre turn of just yelling into the void. He's almost kind of Matt Gatesy, right? It's kind of his obsession with Plocker is a little bit like Matt Gaetz. I saw a clip yesterday where this who's the old speaker, Kelton? Damn it. McCarthy. He was giving an interview, right? Being nice. And this dude starts Gates, weird, like Eddie Munster looking dude that was dating like the 17-year-old or something.
He was in some hot water for various things.
Yeah. He comes up and starts like chirping at him. It just looked like the most Schwadron's getting a little bit chirpy, oddly enough. The mailers are, I think these overthinking his mailers might be the case. I don't know who's producing those, but like one side looks great. Adam's beautiful family. Other side's like, man, that's a lot of text, right? And a lot of stuff that I have a hard time believing, Kelton, and maybe I'm wrong, that there's someone in Nixa getting their paper and getting this insert. I think, the front, you saw what a nice family. Schwadron family looks very attractive, and he's shooting a gun or something. But the back, it's like, I just don't know that anybody follows the news closely enough to be able to follow all the different things and time together. I just, maybe I admit to being out of running like the politics for a long time, but I'm pessimistic that all that text is going to work. So the Secretary of State's race, man, I think you could pick any one of them. I mean, I don't see a clear front runner at all. If I do, I guess it's Dean because of his money. But I think that's a very hard race to pick. Speaking of picking races, so I apologize. I wish I could do you better. I'll try to do you better in the tip sheet that we'll talk about on Monday. Let's talk about a little programming note announcement here. Myself, Mike Mahoney, and Joe Mannies, we're going to settle up in a ride again. The most fun I had in the last campaign cycle was we did an election special for the PBS here in Central Missouri. Myself, the legendary Mike Mahoney, and the St. Louis legend Joe Mannies could not have enjoyed it more. We're going to do that again. I believe it's going to air August 1st and then air again on the eve of the election. So, Kelton, I guess I'm telling you, we're going to have to tape that probably that Wednesday morning. So we'll get all their predictions. It'll be our pre-election special. Myself, the legendary. You talk about a thorn among roses. You have Mike Mahoney and Joe Mannies, and then this hillbilly. It'll be a big deal. It'll be on our. It'll be on Mid Missouri. We'll put it on our social media feeds as well. Also, programming note. I think I have the one and only John Combest coming over for election night. I think, Kelton. We're gonna have the most awesome election night coverage. The truth is, you're gonna want to be here, right here with us. You're not gonna want to be anywhere else. We're gonna talk just about Missouri races, and we're not gonna be obsessed with St. Louis. I know, St. Louis people. This is gonna come. Missouri, St. Louisans, please listen to me, dear St. Louis. There actually is a state out there past 270. I know that's shocking, and I know you're probably going to think I'm wrong. I'm full of it. There is a big entire state out there, and we're going to talk about all the races. We're going to stay there, I think, Kelton, until the last state senate race is called.
I like that idea.
And we'll have a team in here. It's going to be fun. If you've texted me about coming in election night, I apologize. Like I said, I've been out this week. I've been a little down. But I'll be back fired next week. And then when I do next week, F-150 Campaign Tour, Kelton, can we do a midweek update every day next week from the road?
We sure can.
Yeah, he said it. So I'm going to have the head of the state fair on. I'm going to have Pat Contreras on this week. We have another guest. I'd tell you who, but I don't actually know who. Kelton, you take one more question?
Absolutely.
One more question here, and my phone's going off. What's the most interesting state senate? The 21st. The 21st is the most interesting state senate race. It has been from the jump. Curtis Gregory, Doug Ritchie. Curtis Gregory has a money advantage. Doug Ritchie has a little bit of a geography advantage. I would say a geography advantage. They're both working it like crazy. I think some of these are going to be a little out. I don't know how it's gonna end up. I'd say Gregory, because he has the fundraising advantage, has a little bit of an edge, but that's going to be a very close race. It's been the most interesting race from the beginning. Appreciate this, and I will see you on the F-150 Campaign Tour down in Christian County. Mike Moon's going to win. It's not even going to be close. It never was. I just think Mike Moon's very hard to beat in a primary. No one's going to beat him, and I've heard nothing but rave things about Miss Harrelson as far as a human being and the quality of a person. And I hope, like most people, she decides to stay in politics and runs for something else. But I don't think you were going to beat Mike Moon in a primary. I never saw it, and I think that's what's ended up happening. Lieutenant governor race, I saw Wassinger put $1 million in. Yep. Look, again, this is the deal. You've got a candidate rate because he's putting his own money and he gets to spend that much lower than the other rate. So that's the whole thing. Wassinger's ads about the same as Huff's. I just haven't seen a lot from Holly Rader. I just haven't seen a lot of I know she's traveling the state, but I haven't seen a lot of her commercials. Her social media is always innovative. I think she was the first politician in Missouri that really dove in on social media that I watched and really seemed to have it licked. Jacqueline Neal deserves some credit for that. There's a lot of, to me, if Wassinger and Huff get in a shooting war, Holly is the beneficiary of that. I still think Huff's the favorite. He's got not only a great air war, he's got a great ground war of organizations that support him. And he is actually traveling the state. Wassinger, I haven't seen do as much, but I'm sure he's getting out there. He does have a great TV buy, and that $1 million. Wassinger could win that race. I still think just because of the talent that Holly could, but I think honestly I have to say Huff is still the favorite until you see some reasons that he's not. That's going to do it for us. Apologize for the short update this week. We're going to make it up to you next week. Kel, we're going to hit this. Why don't we just put it and say, you know what? Have lunch with us at noon next week, and we'll make the state.
Absolutely.
We'll be coming to your city, F-150 Campaign Tour Sunday, the head of the state fair on This Week